Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Self-Detective Club. Welcome to part two of the exploration into hostile environments. Welcome to the lived experience part, and a big warm welcome to Anna-Lou and Jillie again.
Hello.
Hello. Shall we get straight into it? Yep, big nod.
Yes.
uh, how would you define hostile environments for yourself?
May I go first? Because I've had to think about it. I have. I figured, because I've looked at all different parts of my life, and I've just thought, what sums up a hostile environment? And I would say, for me personally, it's a place where I can't thrive and can't where within that environment my best interests aren't at the center of it. Not center, that sounds very egotistical, but where my best interests aren't being kept in there. It's more about I'm being used for something else. And that could be in personal relationships, in work, or in social, whichever. So I would say that is my definition of it. But it also then, if we're going to be a little bit more practical, hostile can also, for me, as a therapist, mean where we just, well, that'll do. You can just go over there, so you can't do your best work. So it's kind of a bit of a twofold thing. It's not like the whole classic health and safety thing, but it's more of that whole that'll do. Get out of my just get out of the way and just get on with it sort of thing. That's what I would put down as hostile. Right up the Richter scale of violence and threat to life. So I think there's nuance to it.
Thanks for sharing that. And before I just turn to Jillie, is it okay just to get you to explore a little bit more about what you mean about the therapeutic sort of hostiles? Are you talking about outside elements sort of compromising your ability to do some good work with people?
So within the work that we all do, we go on outreach, don't we? We go into different schools, or we go into different facilities that aren't bespoke therapeutic spaces. So then the whole remit of that space is not for therapy, it's for either education or community or corporate. And the idea of it, not of that whole just get yourself in there, is for therapy we need a confidential space. There needs to be four walls and a door, and it needs to be private for the client and for the therapist. And it needs to be warm, dry, have a basic furniture in it, clean, and also not the the one printer for the entire company where people are going to come in and get printing. So it has to be confidential space, like a set aside space with boundaries around it for the work. And I think that is something that's particular to therapy, and people don't understand it. So I think there's kind of like keeping everybody okay. It's not always from a malicious place, but out of that lack of understanding comes well, you can either go into this little cupboard, or you can go into this office where people are going to go in and out, or this open space in the middle of a library, or do you know what I mean? So it
I
just
do, yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking if it's okay that a lot of that could be applied though to people's personal lives, isn't it? Is how many times do you get intrusions? How many times are you compromising your spaces in any environment? Uh, Thank you. Jilly, do you have something to say about your own definition of hostile environments?
I think when Anna-Lou started talking, there was something about something that didn't nourish you, and I thought a hostile environment is somewhere that doesn't nurture you. And just listening to that, I thought, well, I go on a different slant. Think about geographically hostile environments like a boiling hot desert, or I don't know, the Arctic, or somewhere that is a war zone. And I thought, what do they do? Well, they are life-threatening. And I'm thinking of Gaza actually, because that is a hostile environment if ever there was one. And the way people struggle to still hang out their washing and try to function and survive. So that's a hostile environment. And then I thought I can apply that to places that I've worked in the past, which, okay, they may not have been immediately life-threatening, but they were definitely mental health threatening, which could have been life threatening. And there's something about a hostile environment not allowing for humanity. So big corporations, perhaps education, perhaps NHS, perhaps I don't know. I'm just any big organization that does not allow individuality, creativity to flourish and also is not supportive, I think, of those things.
Thank you. And I'm kind of curious to know from both of you, how aware are you when you're out and about having your day-to-day life experience, your work experience? Um, oh, this is a nice environment. This is a hostile environment. Like, do you have an antenna? Do you think for is it really obvious? Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think there's the sorry to keep on jumping in. Jilly, you're gonna have to tell me to be quiet otherwise. So I think there's a thing about as you grow older, you develop more of an antenna. I have, at least in my opinion. When I was younger, I used to take a lot more risks and be far more into the point of view of like it's going to be fine. I mean, walking from working in a pub in the inner city to go to meet my friends at another pub, and I'd be like, I'll be fine. Whereas now it would be like absolutely not happening, and being aware of it all. So I think there's that part. So that's just something that I've experienced in my life. But also, I think the amount of responsibility I have in my work, I'm a little bit, and in my life, I'm a little bit more careful about myself. So I kind of make sure that I'm seeing things a lot more. And I have to mention the elephant in the room is being a woman. That I think women are, and I know from myself, a lot more hyper vigilant about scanning an area and making sure that my physical self, I am safe. And I see it um and I see it when I'm walking out into life, but also I see it from other people. So yeah, I would say through life it has changed how I scan the environment, but also experience, but also being a woman walking through life has impacted it a great deal as well.
Yeah, sure. And I hope that you say more about this, throughout our chat together, because it feels a really important thing to say. Jilly, do you have this clear distinction between what, when you're in an okay place and when you're not?
Well, I'm quite lucky at the moment because I'm more or less retired, semi-retired, so I don't go anywhere that's very hostile, which is great. But in the past, yes, I would have my. I think if I go into middle of a city, I'll have my antennae out. Um, and a funny thing, I had an issue with the car today, which has broken. It's died. Um, and although going to the garage, I know I'm a regular customer, but still, this is the woman thing. Going to work out whether I pay to have it fixed or is there some other thing I can do? That felt frighteningly hostile in just being not having the right advice, not knowing where to go with that. So it wasn't really a hostile environment, but it was a frightening experience in a way, feeling vulnerable. That's yeah, yeah, feeling vulnerable as a woman.
Yeah, no, I
But
get that. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, sorry, I didn't get it as a woman. I kind of get it
yeah,
as a
yeah,
person.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know if this is adding to it, but there are certain engagements that I have with, say, like garages or something, and I kind of assume that I will get shafted,
Yeah.
which is quite a sad thing to say. Like, I'm sorry for all people that are involved in garages, but this is just experience. There are certain professions, there are certain people that I engage with that I am that it suddenly it's just become hostile all of a sudden because I don't know. This is not my arena. I'm very out of place, like a fish out of water, and I just hope that there's some kindness there, but I don't hold out too much hope.
That feels very much like, well, have I been shafted today or not? Um, I do trust the garage, but I still have that mistrust. I had another hostile environment today online, trying to cancel an AVG internet protector thing, antivirus. Trying to cancel, they'd taken a subscription I didn't want. Trying to cancel it was very hostile. The actual website, you couldn't go anywhere with it. And I could feel myself going mad as I tried all these different
Yeah,
things.
yeah, no. It's interesting because it makes me wonder how many scam emails do we get? How many like fraudulent attempts, like on a regular basis, do we have? And I want to wonder what that that does to us psychologically.
I don't know. I think with that sort, I was going down a completely different
Yeah, no, please go
avenue.
down your path. We're all just going down our own path.
Yeah, so I had it. I mean, I work very hard at trying to manipulate the other person to be nice to me. If I'm really honest, that's it. So I've worked in call centers throughout my life to supplement my income, and I've learnt the best way to manipulate the other person to get what I want, which is a short but sweet conversation with them. And so when it doesn't go right for me, I kind of do get a double whammy of it. And I remember a while ago, I had to bring a contract to an end earlier than expected because I had a change in finances, and also the service they were offering was really shit. And I didn't like it. So I was like, I'm not carrying on this because you aren't doing it. And I don't have the money to pay for something that's really rubbish. And oh my gosh, they put me through the ringer and they kind of made me feel very, very bad and dishonest. So talking about scams, I was being looked at as the scammer. And I even at one point to get out of it had to screenshot my bank statements. Can you imagine? And it was really humiliating. But I was like, no, I am not paying for this anymore. Younger me would have just carried on. Now I'm like, absolutely not happening. I'll sit with the humiliation. But I was being treated like a scammer. And I really didn't like it. It stuck with me, and it was months ago now. So it's like it does impact people because I can be perceived as the one who's taken the mickey out of somebody else.
Well, I wanted to be playful with you, Anna-Lou, because before, when you were talking about your time in the call center and using the word quite openly, manipulative, I mean, can we all fess up to some of our own stuff where we have created hostile environments to other people?
Yeah, definitely. And so if I was having a bad day, I was going to definitely take it out on somebody, and I knew exactly how to do it. And it's in the tone of your voice, how quickly you speak, and how little space you give somebody. Oh, totally, you can create hostility for other people.
This feels very naughty admitting this when we're kind of.
But it's human, isn't it? We're not all sweetness and light. We also do have that side that can use the tools for the other way. Doesn't mean it feels nice though. It
The
doesn't
darker
feel
side.
nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing because I'm thinking, oh, how far is this going? Because I had a situation in a local large supermarket store recently, which I probably won't name, but it would be fun to. Um, tried to pay for my shopping at the self-serve, didn't work. Went to the assistant at the till, paid for my shopping, bagged it up. She was quite rude. Don't put your bag there. And off I trotted to my car. Got to my car. She came out of the shop and said, "Excuse me." And it's like, and then she said, "No, it's not you." So I don't know what's going on. One of my lovely neighbours was two doors behind me, two spaces behind me in the queue in the shop. He came round to see me afterwards. He said, "She said you walked out without paying." And he stood up to her. Now, checked my bank account. I hadn't paid, it hadn't gone through, but she hadn't told me. So I created, because of other things in my life, I created a really hostile environment phoning up Tesco.
Oh, you just said it. I thought you were
You
going to
just said
be.
it.
It was Tesco. I don't care. It was a Tesco.
It was something like that, yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
but when it's a true story, it's a fact, so it's fine. But I did get very, very angry on the phone, as a result of accumulation of lots of things. So yes, occasionally I can do it back.
This is reminding me of the drama triangle in, where sometimes we can be the rescuer, sometimes we can be the victim, and sometimes we can be the persecuted in the flick of a switch, like you were the victim as you perceived because you had paid, but actually you hadn't paid. You, how easy things can change. How easy things can change. Thank you very much for all this. Really enjoying it. Can I ask another question? Is that okay? Just to move on a
Do
little
it.
bit. So how easy is it to navigate around these spaces? You know, kind of. When you know that you're entering into what is likely to be a hostile space, is there anything that you do consciously or unconsciously to help yourself a little bit?
Ooh. I'm just thinking we've had a few gangs of young men around lighting fires in our village in the woods and places, and I haven't caught them personally, but I know if I did, my first reaction would try to be friendly to ameliorate, I think, first, um, to de-escalate anything that was coming at me. So either a joke or something friendly.
What a shame that we have to do this, that we have to kind of go into almost for our survival, to to do the alarm system in us, that we have to befriend in order to protect ourselves. Anna-Lou, is there anything you want to say about navigating tough spaces?
Yeah, just the gangs thing I think is prevalent everywhere. So where we are, we're right on the seafront, so we're always going to get that excitement that you get with young people. And I found that I used to be able to make myself invisible, and so they wouldn't see me, and I would just move through it. But sometimes they do see me, and I find it quite shocking the amount of verbal violence that they will actually throw at you on the fly. And at those times, I'm very happy that I could be in my car. Or they're quite happy to say it to you while you're in your car. You know, windows open, they're just going to fling some stuff at you verbally. But I just think it is a big issue. So I think for the first thing for me is in a really hostile place, I make myself invisible, and it's something I've always been able to use to be able to just tone everything about myself down so that I can escape. So it's pretty much the same as what you're saying. It is a shame that we have to do that, either befriend or use disappearance. But it's a survival thing, and I think that's so important to just put safety above being right, or proving a point. So I'd say that's the one extreme of it. But I would think in more low-key hostile environments, I have to be really brutally honest. It depends what I need to get out of it. So if it's in the case, come back to the therapy again. If this client is in need and needs for me to just swallow that and to be able to go, let's make the best of it. Let's see if we can put some things in place so people don't come in. Or if somebody comes in, keep your eyes on me, do not stop speaking, and then we'll carry on afterwards. Then I'll swallow it. I'll really definitely hold all of that negative energy as the adult in the room, be it with an adult, but as a therapist, you are kind of like, by holding that, you are being the adult in the room. So I would say that's from that point of view. But then also in like the in-between ones of if it's something where I have control over it and I can wait, I will tend to leave. I won't stay in something for very long. I'll stay in it, but I will work my way out of it. So it depends on the level of hostility, purpose of the situation. Yeah, it depends on those two things. So I use a variety of strategies, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you. We mentioned gender before, and can I bring that back a little bit? Like, can you share with people, particularly would be useful for men, to understand
Yeah.
what it would be like, just some basic things as to, I mean, like, so can I just say that for myself, when I'm walking down the street late at night and there's a woman in front of me, I cross the road. Like, I would hate the idea of making anyone feel uncomfortable, and it's just creepy and weird. And so I suppose I've got an antenna myself to not be weird to people. And I think the older I get, the more likely I am to be weird for people. Like, it's just like, and I don't mind that. like I'm okay with myself, and if I can do things to sort of mitigate any body feeling weird, if there's anything I can do. So that's my little bit, but I reckon there are so many still areas where my entitlements will come through, like because I am so used to talking, um, and a lot of people afford me the chance to talk, that I really want to consciously say, no, I'm very lucky. I have lots of chance to speak in all sorts of areas. So please, your voice as someone that's more oppressed or discriminated upon would be much better. Anyway, I'm waffling. I want to hear more of your story than my story.
I'm just thinking, well, how gentlemanly. I mean, there's a good old-fashioned sexist term for you. But but it's kind. It's kindness what you do. It's consideration, isn't it? Showing respect and consideration and awareness. And I find that really lacking in the world at the moment.
And I don't understand that, by the way, because I have a mum, I have a partner, I have a daughter. Like, why wouldn't other people have these things? Like, so why wouldn't you have some awareness and some thoughtfulness based on what they're saying? Clues.
Mm. Does it depend on upbringing, I wonder? I'm just thinking of the young lads around here who were shouting and swearing at a woman the other day. I'm just thinking, well, why do they think they can do that? What is that? Have they not been taught to respect women? Where's that coming from? It's really sad.
Yeah. Maybe the answer is no. I mean, I don't know in school if there is a conscious thing to explore power dynamics and oppressions and microaggressions and all of that kind of stuff. Anna-Lou, do you have anything further to say on this?
Yeah. So I've lived in a few countries in my life, and I've had different experiences in each one. And I would say, again, it's changed throughout my life. But I used to be very much one of those people that had a very clear idea of their own boundaries. So if anybody went over those boundaries, I would fight them. And I didn't really care if I was in the middle of a rugby club or if I was in the middle of town, I would kick off. But my girlfriends who I was with at the time always tried to stop it. They were like, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like, it really does matter. It's my boundaries. And I've noticed that that's still that, like, we've got to placate the man because he could kick off. It's like, no, he shouldn't be doing that. It's not acceptable. So that was when I was younger, but I also found in different parts of the world that I was shocked at how, because I've always had my voice being heard. So I live in a pretty much a female dominant family, if I'm honest. So it's always been everybody at the table, whether you be a small person or a big person, your voice is heard. So I grew up with that, and then moving to different places where there was very little difference between the genders, then to other places where there was a significant difference, to where somebody would openly ask me a question. I remember once somebody asked me, what's the word for when somebody dies and their body's got to go back to their home country? And I said, it's repatriation. And immediately I got told, no, 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 you can't possibly be right. I was like, because I'm a woman? I was like, basically, yes. And those experiences I hadn't ever had before, and I felt it was like a slap in the face, and I did not know what to do with it, because I didn't feel like I could be aggressive towards the person and start a fight, because it wasn't like a sexual harassment thing. It was just a real sheer, there is no way you could possibly know this answer. You must be wrong because you're a woman. I was stunned into silence. And every time it has happened to me, I have been stunned into silence. The whole, you can't possibly know because you're a woman. And I have to say, moving back, that has still happened to me sometimes as well. Sometimes I get told, because, you must be upset because you're a woman. I'm like, no, I'm not upset. I'm upset because you're an absolute beep, 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 beep. It's got nothing to do with the fact that I'm a woman. So yeah, I would say when these things happen, and also being out and about, if there is a young girl or a young woman and I see she's having a vulnerable moment, be it she's tripped, she can't find her purse, whatever, I will always hang around a bit longer, just decent distance away, just to keep an eye on her so that she can be vulnerable looking through a bag. And as soon as she's sorted, I'll carry on walking. There doesn't have to be an interaction, but I am quite protective of other, just as I would be for children. But it's that sense of, you're vulnerable right now, let me watch your back. I don't need to know you, you don't need to know me, but I've got your back, and then move on. So I would say there's quite a lot of experiences as a woman.
Can I just
in that
jump in and
respect.
say how lovely that is to hear you say that? As you were saying that, I was thinking, oh, I wonder how many people out there do that, and you might never know. Um, I'm sometimes surprised by humanity. Like, I know that we're possibly on, like, going into hostile environments, so that means, like, oh, like nego stuff or whatever. But sometimes humanity really overwhelms me with, like, with what you're saying, like, just these little things that people do that are not about the ego, they're not about, like, being noticed for it, they're just because you're a human and you're looking after other humans.
Like, some of the best places to find your new best friend are women's toilets on a night out. That is the best place to get a new best friend, because everybody in there will be looking after each other, because somebody will be subbing their heart out, and then everybody will be around them looking after them. And that's the other side of it all. I have to say, one of the biggest things that I miss moving back here is the sisterhood. So in those places where it is incredibly hostile at times, women look after each other. And so you all know each other's mums, you all know each other's children, you know each other's siblings, you hang out together, you eat together, you make each other's like invitations to your parties together, you fight, you come back together, you disagree, you come back together. I miss that here, because that is something that happens over there a lot. So I would say that there are ways around it to support each other and to find the humanity.
Nice, nice. And as you were saying that about women's toilets, I was thinking, oh, I remember when I was in my 20s being in a pub in Bristol that I wasn't very familiar with, and I went to the urinal, and there was a guy next to me and was just doing what you do in a urinal, and he said, "Are you looking at me?" Like, that he was about to just fight me, and my instant response was, "No, I'm looking at that picture over there." Thankfully, there was a picture, so I just said that, and that was my instant survival mechanism thing. And I still remember it, because I always think, I'm glad I said that, because if I hadn't have said that at that moment in time, I don't know what would have happened. And that's possibly a good example for me of my own sort of hostile environments, that it could happen at any time, you know, and possibly particularly in pubs because of, because alcohol's involved and whatnot.
Yeah.
Jillie, sorry, I know you haven't spoke for a while. Do you want to come in at all with any of this?
I'm just thinking of something. I'm thinking about from a women's point of view, historically, because I'm older. There's two things actually. One is I'm now older and wrinkly, and I find that there's being called dear a lot, and people offering to carry my bag, and I'll just get really ratty. It's like, oh, I'm not your dear. I'm fine, thank you very much. And that annoys me. But I was just remembering something my mum said years ago, which really shocked me, because she had a friend who was having some sort of marital difficulty breakdown thing. And my mother's comment to me, which I'll never forget, is, "I don't think she's keeping her husband satisfied." And I'm like,
Wow.
oh
Ooh.
no.
Wow.
Yikes.
And yeah, it was really difficult. Yes, that's her duty. So there's something, on the women's side of it as well that feeds into all that stuff. But it was.
Yolks, Jelly, thanks for saying that.
It's a different time, it was a
Yeah.
different generation, and
Yeah.
it was just really sad. It was like, no, we're not there to serve. And I got very angry about things like that. No, I haven't a lot more to say on that one.
I feel the need to do a deep breath after that.
Yeah.
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 Okay, thank you. Is it okay if I throw out some more questions?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. So I was wondering if it was worth exploring hostile spaces within 4 areas, starting with the intrapersonal space, the relationship that you have with yourself. Like, could there be parasite values from kind of the outside world that can feed in? Um, can can we end up with internalized misogyny and sort of self-hatred based on an oppressive society? You know, I guess I'm thinking about self-worth. Like, if you don't have much self-worth, I'm guessing the space inside your head is going to be pretty hostile. And again, just thinking about our lived experiences, have there been times when we've been our own worst enemies? And is it okay to touch upon that at all, if it's safe to do so?
I wouldn't like anyone else to have the inside of my head sometimes. I would not wish that on them. Mostly it's okay, but I think it's what you said. There's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of self-criticism. A lot of beating myself up. You didn't say that right. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't clear. And I know where all that comes from, and it does come from a hostile childhood, a very hostile parenting situation. That was aggressive and hostile and not nurturing. And there's really interesting that's just come up for me. It's like, oh, that's where the hostile environment was. And it is a bit internalized, and it's mixed in with fear as well, survival fears there too. So that's really interesting. I'd never thought about that. So I think I may have to go and inspect my internal environment and sort it out.
Well, just like I said before about antennae, how much are you aware when you are in a bad space, beating yourself up, and is there anything you can do with it?
I find it's talking to very close friends and who reflect back to me what I'm doing. Like all my doubt about the garage today, I said to a friend, "What would you have done?" She said, "Well, I would have done the same as you." And it's like, oh, that's okay then. And yeah, self-soothing. I go to the woods. I just go to the woods. That's what I do. I go out into the wild, and that's where I soothe. But it's stopping that kind of express train of self-beating up. I don't do it all the time. I think I also have another side which says, you've done really well in the circumstances, you're great. But there's also that other thing sitting on my shoulder, chuntering away with all this hostile stuff. So yeah, recognizing it and stopping it would be a good trick to have.
Thank you. Anna-Lou?
I would say yes, I have had those because a lot of my traumatic experiences happened outside of the house. It was a lot more school and the greater world, because me being me wasn't always matching up with the world. So I got a lot of negative input from the world, and that's sat with me for a long time. So again, the negative self-talk, the try harder, the you're not good enough, you're crazy, you're a monster, all of this stuff. And I have to say, a lot of the reason why I can get through it now is years and years and years of therapy with a really good therapist. But that doesn't mean it doesn't still happen. So I had another dark period recently, but the strength of coming out of it was knowing I could come out of it, and knowing that this too shall pass, and that it's just another therapy doesn't mean the removal of what's happened to you. It means that your life's grown bigger around it, hasn't it, really? So I think that was a moment of going, this still has to exist. These moments still have to happen, but I've got a bigger life around it, and just waiting for it to pass. And then every day going, has it gone yet? And it's like, nope, just another day is going to have to, and getting through that day, and just making sure that all of the healthy strategies are in place. So making sure that I look after myself. But yeah, and then at the same time sitting there going, this isn't actually me. This isn't actually what I think about myself. This isn't actually all that I have, because I would never say to myself this isn't real, because on the inside it is really, really real. But it's just there is a different real as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely that idea of this too shall pass. And knowing that, and you know what, I do find that with a lot of therapists when they go into, and counselors when they become counselors and therapists, they go into it thinking this is gonna change everything. We're gonna change people's lives. We're gonna change our own lives. Everything's gonna be perfect afterwards, and it's not. It's just there's more good days than bad days, I think, is the big reality of it all, isn't it? And I think that's the discomfort once people finish their training and they go out into the real world of employment. So I mean by real world, not just on a placement, and they go, why isn't everything perfect? It's like, because that's not going to happen. Therapy is beautiful, it's healing, it's growth, but it isn't a fresh new life. So yeah, I still get triggered by, if somebody says something, then I feel the rejection deeply, and I think, all right, that's it, that's the end of that. Then I go, oh, right, okay, grab it quickly before it grows legs and arms, and just let it be and let it go. But it takes a lot of effort to hold on to the triggers and to move through the triggers. So I think I totally agree with what you're saying, Jillie, that it is just, you cannot deny that these things happen to you.
Yeah, I find that very refreshing. Thank you, Anna-Lou. That's a real takeout for me. Because I was thinking that I think generally I am quite self-loving, like not to a point, hopefully, to the detriment of other people and stuff, but I have kindly internal dialogues, and but then something happens when I stub my toe on a door, and it's really painful. I get this voice that goes, "You stupid idiot." And that's really telling, isn't it? That I have this narrative about myself, like, oh, I'm at one with myself. And yet, somewhere in me, there's this dark voice that comes out when when there's pain. And it blames me. It doesn't go, oh, bless you, oh, rub it better, or whatever, like what a mum might do. It just goes, you stupid idiot. And it's like, wow, who said that? Well, on the neck.
Yeah. And our psyche can be quite hostile because it holds on to all of that stuff, particularly from childhood. And the child will always blame itself for what happens around it to try and make it better. But it goes somewhere, it stays within us. So I would say that sometimes the human psyche can be quite hostile within ourselves, like that. So you accidentally stubbed your toe, and it was like immediate bleh. That's a very technical term, by the way. There's theory around that. I'm sure there is.
Well, I have to say that the noises are making for a nice nurturing environment rather than a hostile one. Are we okay to move on to the next one, which is the relationships with others, like the interpersonals? Anyone got any thoughts on hostilities around that?
I did once have a very bad falling out with someone, mainly due to the fact that I hadn't explained what I was trying to say properly, and it all blew up. So the other person became extremely hostile. My reaction to that in the following weeks was to hide and avoid. That again, it's the little dog, isn't it, with the very scary big dog on your back. There's my tummy, and I'm very weak. Don't attack me. That's that sort of, yeah, I would avoid it and I wouldn't go to places where there was going to be hostility. Um, and in the end, I think I sorted it by being over friendly again, I'm just beginning to see all these patterns now. I think, oh no. So yeah,
But
yeah.
it's to create safety, isn't it?
Yes.
And to make survival.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so I wouldn't come out of my cave fighting if there was an enemy at the door. I'd go into the back of the cave and hide. The only time I will come out fighting is to protect one of my own, and then I'll become really hostile at that point. Um, yeah, the dog got attacked by the dog's figuring in this a lot, isn't she? She got attacked by a big dog, and you don't go into that really. You're supposed to not get involved. I was straight in there. I was going to save her and did.
And I
But
saw
yeah,
you had your fists there, like as you were
Yeah.
saying that.
I did just shout, but the shouting was so severe that it worked. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Interpersonal hostile
Because it
relationships.
might help to say that another word to describe this is, what do we do when we're confronted by adversity, or sorry, adversaries? Is that right? Is that the right word? For people that might be in our lives for longer than we want, like bosses or colleagues, or when relationships go pear-shaped and suddenly, um, it's just no fun being around them. Like, that's pretty tough, isn't it? Like, because they ain't going anywhere. So how do you make the how, how do you deal with that?
Not always like a grown up. So sometimes very much like a child and can be quite petulant and petty, but at the end of the day, it uses up a lot of energy. And I think it has to, for me, I have to look at it in terms of energy. But it's just realizing that doing that doesn't stop the contact or doesn't suddenly make everything better. That you've just got to actually find a way to limit, yeah, the damage, a bit of damage limitation, and how much energy it costs, and then get to the point of what it's all about. But I'm the opposite, Jilly. I'm actually a big fighter. I will fight before I do anything else. And I think it's a way of protecting the fact that I'm probably very hurt by something because I feel rejected very, very quickly. And so I'm going to feel that rejection. I'm going to immediately push somebody away or leave. So there's a lot of fight, flight with me. But when you have that person where you know it's going to have to continue on, I've recently definitely found that I can have a massive big talk through with people, which can sometimes sound like an argument, but it isn't always. And then say, right, well, we're both grown ups here. How can we actually repair this? And I've found that's worked sometimes, but then I've also found other people haven't quite been able to do the repair and they want to keep the argument going. And I'm going, so this is what it's been like for other people with me. So it's really fascinating watching yourself and watching other people as you develop these things. But yeah, I think finding ways to repair it without having to give all of my boundaries up and to just allow myself to be walked all over, to be able to still say, I'm happy to talk to you, but if you keep on doing this thing, then I can't talk to you anymore and we'll have to try again another time. So I think it's still holding those boundaries, but without having to do a massive blow up.
Thank you. Does any of you use the grey rocking technique when it comes to adversaries? This idea of just sort of being emotionally dead so that you kind of conserve your energy and you kind of go along with stuff and you kind of say all the right things, but inside there's nothing. There's barely a connection. You're nodding your head, Anna. Have you
I am. I've
mastered
tried
this?
it. I've tried it a lot, and it takes a lot for me because I'm a very high energy person. To do that, it's really, really weird. But there were times when fighting wasn't the right thing to do, so I had to go for the opposite, and it did help me find the middle ground. And I'm massively into the tone of my voice, and so it was even in that way, like what is grey in my voice? What is grey in my body? How is a rock? Like, how can I embody a rock? Was the only way I could do it. So there's a little bit, I would say drama, but it's just that whole somatic thing of be the rock, be cold like a rock. And it helped an awful lot.
Jillie, you're listening to this.
I've got someone I know who quite enjoys conflict and will always be trying to play the game of I'm worse off than you, I've had it worse than you, and there's always a drama. And I think I've done that. I haven't heard that expression, but I try to go into neutral. And although it's impacting on me in my head with rage, and that is the time that I rage because I know it's wrong, I know I can't rage back in that situation because it would become, it would be completely the end of a relationship. So I go into the neutral. I love the gray zone. I just go, all right, yeah, okay, get you. And I'm not there. I take myself out completely of that situation because I'm not respected and not known there anyway. So I don't be there. So I go away. I go somewhere else. And it's just like this body's just doing the motions. Yeah.
Cool. The third part is looking at the physical world in terms of hostilities. I don't know what I'm thinking of here, but I'm thinking of like weather, pollution. I'm thinking of some of the homes that we might have lived in, whether they were damp, whether the streets, the cities, the countryside, any of them can bring sort of hostilities, can't they? Have anyone got any thoughts on this?
I could talk about weather, but I think the biggest thing that I find hostile is littering. I find it really hard that you're trying to enjoy something, even be a car park, it doesn't have to be nature. And there's litter. I find that the most hostile part of humanity.
What is it about litter in particular?
It's a good question. I think it's a bunch of things. It's thoughtlessness, be it on the individual, the group, the government, or whatever. This problem hasn't been looked at properly. It's capitalism at its absolute worst. It's destruction because it's destroying the environment. And then it's also how toxic, incredibly toxic it is. And not just naive, but small-minded of us as humans to think that that's not going to impact our health. So it's a lot of it, and and I love the litter picking movement, but I think there's a fundamental problem that's not being addressed as to why this is still happening. If there's an accidental situation, then okay, I get it. But like, I used to live in the Netherlands, and I go back to the Netherlands a lot, and they're very good with their litter. They've even monetized litter at some point at rubbish because you can get your money back for stuff. But then if you go, even in like Belgium and Germany, they're all pretty clean and tidy. And I just think what in that loop is missing here that we don't that it doesn't seem to be happening. So I would say that's what I find the most toxic. And it's not just here, it's also in different parts of the world as well. But just that stark comparison with the Netherlands it really is quite shocking that we're just across the water, they've managed to figure it out. So why can't we? I don't know.
I thought I heard a real sadness in your voice early on when you were talking about this. Like, of all the things that we were talking about, like just the litter seems to encapsulate a lot of possibly what's wrong with our society.
Yeah, because like right now, all the birds are making their nests, and they're all excited, and they're all like fluttering around, and you can hear them squabbling when one of them found the perfect stick and the other one didn't. And then you look down on the floor, and it's just full of plasticky bits and all those sorts of things. And you're just thinking, oh, it doesn't have to. We live in a beautiful country. It doesn't have to be that way. And then things like fishing line, how dangerous they are. And if it was a child who got mixed up in it, would they react differently to how if an animal is? I don't know. Yeah, it does make me very sad because there doesn't seem to be any kind of change. I don't know.
Yeah. I felt sad as well when you were saying that because I just felt like we didn't care. It was all just sort of disposable, like there wasn't much commonality. But Jillie, you looking.
I felt the same. I was pulling up to a roundabout the other day, and the whole side of the road was just covered in litter, and it makes me despair. Actually, it makes me angry and despair, and I think it reflects the consumerism, the throwaway society, and the wastefulness. I think that's, and I think what really hurts me is the fact that people just don't care, and I think how do they not care? What's happened? What's happened? But other hostile environments, I did once live in a very damp, frightening single bedsit, which in a house that was shared with other people, including someone who used to try to break into my room every night. So I had a chest of drawers up against the wall. I wasn't there very long and it got sorted. But I'm just thinking about people in high-rise flats with no access to outside, and children in cities and nowhere to go to play that's safe. And to me, that's distressingly hostile as well. Why aren't there safe places for children to go and play? I'm lucky I live in the country, but for city children, where are the places they can go that are safe to climb trees and to connect with nature?
This is a Cat Stevens song, isn't it? Where do the children play?
Where do the children play?
So that I just think cities are quite hostile to humanity.
Yeah. Thank you again for sharing. We've reached pretty much the last question for me, or the last area, which is that. We've kind of looked at the intrapersonal, the interpersonal, the physical, but I wonder whether it's interesting to explore the cultural world that we live in. Sort of like authoritarianness, sort of consumerism, capitalism, oppressions, subjugation, hierarchies. Like how on earth do we navigate this world where we're kind of not free? Like we're all wage slaves, aren't we? Like that's pretty crazy, isn't it? That we have to work in order to sort of just to survive, rather than having a common treasury where things are shared. I don't know. Any thoughts that you might have? And also we've got misogyny, and we've got racism and homophobia, which I kind of suppose possibly comes from hierarchies. But I want to know your thoughts anyway, rather than me talking about my stuff. Yeah.
Just thinking about social media and fashion, and that to me is very toxic. I know people of sort of in their late 30s, 40s who are getting lip jobs and getting their eyebrows tattooed on, and it's like, what are you doing? Why? I mean, I know it's personal choice, but there's something very about your body and insecurity about your body and the cultural representation still now, and it shouldn't be, of what women are supposed to look like. And I find that frighteningly toxic and hostile.
Can I just be clear? Are you suggesting there's some kind of exploitation going on here, that people are making money from the vulnerabilities?
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. It's all manipulating money and getting money out of people. Yeah, absolutely. Children addicted to phones. Yep. Yes, it does. It goes back to money.
See, I was going to come at it from two different things. Number one, the toxic positivity. Freaking hate that movement. But also, again, coming back to being a woman, as a young person, a young girl moving through the spiritual world, I had a massive problem with the fact that God was a man. So I used to say, not our men in church when we used to go to church. I used to say our women because I just thought it didn't make sense. And I think for me, again, coming back to my family, predominantly, like it's very much a female orientated family in many ways. We do believe in the balances of the two, but it's not the way society is built, is it? So there is this religion. I have an issue with religion, is what I think I'm getting at. And I think it's lovely when people are happily into it, but I also have struggle when it gets forced on me. So I've worked in religious schools abroad and in here in the UK, and I found it quite shocking because I thought I'd left all this religious extremism behind in the little pockets of the world where I'd left it. And came back here and I walked into like C of E schools or Catholic schools, and I found it really shocking. And again, that hierarchy came back of.
Is it okay if you identify what it is that's shocking, particularly, so we can get?
I feel that it's this whole not questioning of how you can treat other people badly, or how you can tell people what they need to do and whether or not they're doing it well enough, or if they're going to go to hell or not because they've made a mistake. It's like you with your stubbed toe. I think I really found that quite shocking, and I struggle with that. So I think that's why I don't really deal with religion all that much.
And is this around dogma as well, that there is this thing that's very,
Yeah,
very black and white?
yeah, and then it's the separation that it creates between people that I can't stand. So making people into those people or these people, and separating people, and it's like at the end of the day we're all people. I think I just struggle with hierarchy as well because I don't like it with the whole class system we have in the UK. It's massively entrenched in the mentality of people to separate people. It's like we all have to deal with the same things. We all have to sleep. We all have to go to the toilet. We all have to shower. We all have to eat. We all have to have a life purpose. So why is your life purpose worth more than mine? I find that really difficult. And so because I hate this separating of people, and I use hate because it boils my blood a lot because I'm like, we're not going to do anything for the greater good if we're separating each other. We need to actually work together and go, well, you don't think the same as me, but that's okay because as long as we can work together, it's fine. So I don't mind if people don't agree with me, but.
Can I put it out there that the same thing's possibly going on with politics as well? That rather than having consensus decision making, we have this system where you've got winners and losers. Voting creates winners and it creates losers and it creates division. And isn't division fab? Because the more that we're sort of like fighting amongst ourselves, and the people who are really doing well out of a sort of in unequal
Getting on with
like
it, yeah.
rubbing their hands with glee, like the oppression Olympics kind of thing. Yeah. By the way, you mentioned something called toxic positivity. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Can you just say a little bit about that? Because
another thing that boils my blood when you see if you're seeing interactions between adults and children, and the child is like really grumpy and said, I really don't like this, and then they get told, well, just think positive thoughts. And you're like, no. Or everything's going to be fine. It's like, no, it's actually not. Just think positively and everything's going to be great, or just be happy. And I find that really hard. I heard it a while ago with a woman. She must have been in her mid-30s, and she had like a teenager, or she was just at like 17, late teens. And the man was like saying, oh my God, that was really hard. That conversation I had with that person, they asked me some really horrible things. I don't understand. I'm a bit wobbly right now. And the young person just turned around to them and went, well, you better just think positively and just be happy. Just be happy. And I just thought, you just shut down this woman's feelings. She's just, as an older woman, she's finally said that she has feelings, and you completely shut them down. So that's the toxic positivity. This whole idea of like, if you can think it, you can have it. Do you know what I mean? If you can dream it, you're going to be your life. It's like, no, life is actually not always good. It's real life. It's full of dirt and jobs that you've got to do. So yeah, that's what I mean by toxic positivity. Just think those bad thoughts away. Right. I can get really
Oh,
sarcastic
that's
about it.
creepy. Thank you, Anna-Lou, for that
It
demonstration.
is that, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
It's super creepy.
Jillie, is there
Yeah.
something you want to add
I
to?
was just laughing because one of the times that I've really got angry straight away was somebody saying, "You've got to be positive all the time. This moment, positive, live in this moment." And I did blow at that point and said, "Do you know what? I'm not positive. It's not okay." And that's where I am. But I was thinking, going back to the religion and thinking of the power over in that, how toxic that can be, what a control mechanism it is in some cultures. And I mean, there've been things in the news lately, that it's again, it's feel monetary as well, as though there's a reward for those people holding the power over everybody else's beliefs, and guilt. And I know someone who said, because she's been divorced and remarried and grew up a Catholic, every time she has sex with her husband, she's going to go to hell. And it's like, oh no, it's just so mad. But what frightens me is that's really important to some people. They believe it, and that makes me angry. Makes me really angry. I think possibly education system also is quite toxic and hierarchical, can be bullying, um, and it's you've got to fit into these boxes, you've got to write like this, you've got to write a report like this when you're 7 years old, and then you've got to hit these exams in order to be a success, and that really rattles me.
Is there any institution that isn't hostile? Or is this a bit of a dangerous path that we're going down? Like, like, criminal justice
Isn't it?
systems? Yeah.
I read a book a long, long, long time ago called The Tipping Point, and it was about the idea of when a group becomes too big. And they use the example, they use loads of examples, but the example that sticks out for me is the example from North Face, the company, that they always make a factory, or they did, this could have been like 15 years ago. They make a factory and it has a certain number of employees, and they put the car parking spaces off of that allotted amount of, it's Americans, they always use cars, but that allotted amount of employees. And as soon as it becomes more than that, they have to build another factory, because they know once it gets too big, the communication and it breaks down and it doesn't function in the way they want it to function, which is that everybody's equal. And I thought there was a lot in that. So I think institutions that stay within a certain size, potentially yes, but when they go too big, it becomes a whole other beast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard this before. I've heard this before about like human size. If you go beyond human size, you start to lose humanity. And when you get to multinational size, you can get all sorts of crazy decisions being made across the globe, that that could involve murder or something. I'm not naming names, but it's just because there is no humanity. So it doesn't really matter if there's some agitators going on some other country, and you just put the order out to deal with it, and that order ends up being that they get assassinated. I don't think it's outrageous to say that. This, unfortunately, is the world that we live in. And yet, if it was small, like our, like a little cooperative, we know each other. We're not going to, yeah.
I was about to say that. I was about to say, in a small circle of people, you see each other, you know each other's lives, and also you help each other because there's enough of a network to support each other, and you lose that when it gets any bigger. The network breaks up. It can only operate on a small level. It's a bit like you've only got this much length of elastic. If you pull it too far, it'll snap. So you've got to keep it where it's, yeah.
Hey, listen, I've really enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much. But I don't just want to end necessarily abruptly. If there's any reflections that might be useful to share? Any takeouts or any further thoughts that we didn't really get into?
Just an enormous amount to think about. Very, very useful, very valuable. Um, I think I'm quite tired at the end of the day, but I think I'll be going away and when I'm more alert, having a real good think. I like the idea. I was interested in the idea of your own inner hostility was interesting.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, Jilly. Anna-Lou?
Just that it's been it being able to reflect together and see how it is so different in different areas and how much survival plays a big part in it all. And how things can change over time. So yeah, same as Jilly, lots to think about after this. Very good, very good. Well done.
Yeah, the same, the same. And thank you very much for generating this. It's been great.